Salt Lake City and the valley can get hot, like really hot in the summer, and so residents head up into the mountains to escape, where it can often be upwards of 15 to 20 degrees cooler. It's a beautiful spot to go up to in the middle of summer, especially because there are new types of birds. You rise in elevation, you're gonna find different birds than what you normally do down at the lower elevations. And so in today's video, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm meeting up with a new friend to go hiking around the Silver Lake recreation area and look for all of the high elevation species we get. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing some of the best birding you can do in the summer here in Utah. We're up in the mountains. The alpine birds are totally different than what we get in the valley, and I'm really excited to see what we come across. So let's go get some birding done. And I'm here with Roberto too, new friend. I'm excited. It's always fun getting to meet another birder. So we'll see what we come across.
Let's do it.
Before we even began the hike, there were some birds right on the visitor center. And I mean on it because their nests were right there. As you can see, one starts to poke its head out. These are cliff swallow. They make these mud nests by carrying mouthfuls of mud up to these little crooks and corners for them to build. But we began our adventure with the Wasatch Mountain range as our beautiful backdrop. This grassy, wet habitat was the first location where we started spotting some birds, like the very common and typical Lincoln sparrow in this area.
The white crown. And I hear a song sparrow.
And so I forgot to mention, we're here birding at Silver Lake Recreation Area, and we're gonna hike along to Lake Solitude. This is honestly, I think, one of the best alpine birding areas you can go to. Anything up here is pretty good, hiking at any of the ski resorts, but this spot in particular has huge bodies of water like Silver Lake, and so you can see a lot of birds. And we've seen a ton already. There's been so many sparrows and chickadees and stuff. It's very birdy. So excited to get some more birds on camera. Swallows are a pretty common sight flying around, especially in the early mornings here, but you often don't get them to perch. So I was really happy that I could get a clear clip of this guy as he managed to stay still for my video. This is the violet green swallow, probably the most common swallow species at this elevation, although we did also see cliff swallow and tree swallow along with those. Birds weren't the only thing around. We had a handful of mammals just hanging out, some ground squirrels, chipmunks, and a few other species too that I took advantage of getting some clips while they were in front of us.
Well,
we rounded the first part of Silver Lake and cut off to the trailhead that heads to Lake Solitude. This was a really cool hike and it was brand new to me. We saw some great scenery and of course birds along the way. Now, really beautiful and awesome behavior that we came across was a ton of juveniles. I don't know why, I just really wasn't expecting to see all of these young birds, even though they really were breeding just recently. So we got to see yellow-rumped warblers feeding their young. And so we watched around the area because there was also lots of western wood pewees hanging around too, going back and forth from their nests, bringing them food also. I'm not sure if this is their preferred nesting location, but each nest we saw was attached to, I believe these are aspen trees, right on the side of the trunk on a little part that stuck out. So they seem to favor these kind of areas, and it was fun to note that and learn that about the pewees. Now in the background, you probably heard that harsh, raspy screech call, begging call. That was from this guy. And I'm not totally sure what this is because it's a young bird. We suspect it's a western warbling vireo, but let me know what you think about this guy in the comments. So some really cool moments here, and honestly I'm a little caught off guard by this. Like down in the valley, like where all the people live and stuff, breeding season is essentially over. It really wraps up towards the start of July, but up here in the mountains, I don't know if they just start later, but we've seen two nests now, a juvenile that we're guessing was a warbling vireo, and just peewees going back and forth to these nests. So there's a lot of breeding activity happening up here in the mountains. Really cool to get to see some of these adults feeding the young and the young begging for food. Just some awesome behavior that you don't see all the time. And we were able to find our second peewee nest. This was pretty cool, in the same exact kind of spot on this little like nook of the tree where a branch looks like it used to be, they made their nest. The adult was nearby finding food for the young, and they would get excited every time it would come back to the nest. It's hard to tell, but I believe there were at least 3 young birds on this particular nest. This junco also had to show off its own fly-catching abilities as it grabbed some sort of insect snack. Now, one of the best parts about birding up in this high elevation areas is not even the birds. During this time of year, the wildflowers up in the mountains are at full bloom, and it's really pretty noticing them all as you're hiking along. In fact, the prior day, my girlfriend and I went up to Snowbird and actually got some really good pictures of wildflowers as we experienced a wildflower festival that they put on. And so I was enjoying them just as much on this day too, though. Even though the focus was primarily birds, you can still appreciate all of the nature all around you. And for those of you that use iNat, you would have loved being up here on this day. Back to the birds now, though. We had a couple decent looks at pine siskin finally after hearing them for much of the day, and then we saw dark-eyed junco moving across the ground before I got it to perch up kind of nicely for a second. Well, I did not get it on camera, but we just got Roberto a lifer, pine grosbeak. We first heard the call just echoing up there, and it came closer, a little bit lower. I was moving around trying to get better eyes on it, and I couldn't, unfortunately, but lifer for Roberto, that's pretty awesome, and a bird I've only seen like twice before. Continued looking around for that pine grosbeak because that was one I really wanted to get on camera for you all, but it made just a brief minute appearance before continuing on.
But it's horrible to shoot into because it's straight in the sun.
And then we were hearing a western tanager that I similarly wanted to get on camera, but couldn't track that one down either for some reason. I settled for watching these red-breasted nuthatch, potentially looking at a nesting site. I wasn't sure if they actually went into this snag or if they were just picking around for food. Maybe they had a nest nearby that would be in line with the other bird species we were looking at. One of the most common birds you'll find up in the mountains, and they're easy to find because you often hear them chirping and chittering all over. You have the mountain chickadee. Not too far off from the black-capped chickadee that many of you might be familiar with, but this one is a high elevation specialty. The non-bird life continued too as we saw another deer, this time a buck with some fuzzy antlers. And then one of my favorite moments, watching this pika, I don't actually know how it's said. It might be Pika, because I think Pikachu is named after this animal. It was munching away at some leaves and twigs while proudly sitting on its little rock. These guys are just so adorable, and just watch him chow down this little piece of twig that he found. If you're in the mountains and you come across rock fields kind of like this one, it's pretty likely you'll be able to find a pika in the area. That was my first time ever actually getting one on camera though, so I was pretty excited about that. Well, we eventually continued on the trail and made our way closer to where we reached the lake, seeing a couple of birds along the way, but then we came to the water's edge with a whole new assortment of birds here along the water to find. The showstopper that got us really excited was this hermit thrush giving some pretty good views. It was moving around quickly, so I couldn't get long clips of it, but these are some of the better views I've ever gotten of this bird, and it's really not a bird I see too frequently, so really happy to get those eye-level views. Directly following this though was one of the most striking yellow-rumped warblers I've ever seen. The yellow colors were so pronounced on this individual, and it was really fun to watch it move around the branches. This one again was getting chased by juveniles, some more breeding behavior. You can see one of them here doing that begging wing display while following around the parent. Turning our attention back to the plants and vegetation along the water, there was an orange-clawed warbler nestled right in there. This one had a little bit of an unusually short tail. I don't know if something happened to it or if it's still growing, But what was neat is we could actually see the orange crown on this bird, which you can't always see on these species. But we did the loop around the hike looking for more birds before getting ready to turn back. And we saw some mallards up here. For some reason this feels really funky and out of place. We're way up in the mountains, and yet there's still mallards on this body of water. Well, I showed you a Lincoln sparrow earlier. This one right here is a chipping sparrow, boasting that characteristic rufous crown, another good bird that you can find up at the higher elevations. Now this bird I was pretty excited about because I don't think I've ever filmed it before, the dusky flycatcher. I had heard its call really high pitched on the other side of the lake while we were eating a snack, and thankfully it was still around when we came over to go give it a look. Moving from this awesome flycatcher to a weird looking bird. I think it's just a dark-eyed junco that took a bath or something happened to it, not too sure. And the last bird around the lake is one of my favorites, the stunning black and blue Steller's jay.
Just a random cave, not really sure. Super interesting.
So this hike overall to Lake Solitude was really beautiful, and we've seen some incredible birds, good moments. I highly recommend it if you're in the area, but we're gonna hustle back down the trail. It's an out and back trail here, so likely not gonna see too much new, but when we get back to Silver Lake, we're gonna finish the loop around there. Might get some good birds there. There's always swallows and stuff flying around. Might get some even better views of a Steller's jay. Who knows? Let's see what we come across in this last leg of the video. We went fast on the way back so I could make it home for the World Cup final, but didn't really see much anyways outside of this young deer.
What the heck? Yellow rumped right in front of us. That's so cool. There's a young one chasing this one around too. All right, we just got back to Silver Lake, hiked about the mile back here, and we're gonna finish the loop around and wrap up the day here real shortly. It's been an amazing day, honestly. We didn't get any crazy rarities like a three-toed woodpecker or an American goshawk, but it's so gorgeous out and we got great looks at some really cool birds. All right, Roberto, what did you think about the day so far?
We saw over 30 species, so I really can't complain. We got some of the best looks at yellow-rumped warblers, hermit thrush, quite a few other birds that I've ever had before, so I would highly recommend coming out here to do some birding. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I mean, like I've mentioned many times, just look at those views. And also, just want to shout out Roberto's channel, Berto's Bird Life. It'll be linked in the description, so if you want to go check that out too, go to the link in my description. Just a few more birds to report on this amazing morning up doing some elevation birding. We had a sparrow right in front of us. It does have some sharp streaks, but I think it was a song sparrow. Then we had a couple of mallards sleeping along the water's edge and preening themselves. Not too bad of views of these birds. Didn't seem to mind all the people walking on the trail just a couple feet away. And then probably one of the best sightings of the day was this very vibrant western tanager. Decent views of this bird too. I was really happy to get it on camera before following it up with a western warbling vireo. That's pretty much all I have for you in the birds here. I'll just turn it over to myself after appreciating the last bits of this scenery. Just a beautiful morning. Mountain birding is absolutely the best. Really cool to meet up with Roberto for the first time too and get some birding in together. So awesome day overall. Thank you as always for watching my videos though. I'll see you in the next one. Happy birding.